Welcome to the Success IQ podcast, the show for entrepreneurs who want to create and live an exceptional life. I'm your host, Geoff Nicholson, and this is episode 65. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I truly hope you are having a fantastic week. But before we get started on this week's episode, I just want to take this opportunity to wish you all a truly happy new year. I wish and I hope this new year brings you great success, happiness, and fulfillment. And I also hope you've had a great break as well. It's an interesting time of year. It's a time that I absolutely love. I literally just disconnect and spend some good quality time with the family. But it's also that time of year where people think about plans for the following year. What are your plans for 2018? You know, one of the interesting things is people will come to me now and ask about what are some good planning strategies. And my answer is always the same. Realistically, now is about action. The planning should have been done before you get back to work. The planning really should be done at the end of December so you can get ready and to kick the arse out of 2018 as soon as it starts. Because what you don't want is, you see, you don't want to be wasting your time. And when I say wasting your time, what I mean is there's an important element to planning, but you don't want to be using your time ineffectively because you're consuming it by the planning phase. Really what you want is when as soon as you're back at work, you want to know what you're doing, you want to have those intentions set, and you want to be, throttled down and off you go. So it's really important that if that's not where you are, think about next year as making sure that you've got your plan set, you know what you're doing, and that's what you're off. And you can go back into episode 15 where we talk about the planning phase. And I use a very, very simple strategy. It's a process that I've used for a while. It's called reflect, plan, set, and action. And reflection is so important to me. And what I generally do is I put some time out. Generally, it's just before Christmas. I get all my journals together. I get Evernote open, and I really focus on the failures. I look at my successes, but the successes is not where the learning comes from. The failures is where the learning comes from. As we all know that it is the failures where we have made the mistakes that we can improve on. The successes are the things that we've done great, and we're not really going to learn anything from those things. So, I bring together all my journals, I look at all my brainstorming notes and everything else, and I go, okay, where did I go wrong? And later on, I'll talk about some of the areas and where I've kind of like failed, I guess, in some of the areas and where I need to improve for transparency purposes, shall we say. But that reflection point is so important. And this is why I keep saying journaling is so important. You've got to have a place to record your thoughts, your failures, and your successes so you can go back and review them. Because if you've done this year and then you come to the planning and you haven't got anything recorded, how do you know where your direction is? Where's your point of reference? Where's your compass coming from? You've got to know where your errors have been. You've got to know what your successes have been to help do more of that, so you can make sure that you're moving in that direction. You've got to collect those details in order to help you move in the right direction and to increase that success momentum. Then, of course, the planning phase. Now, I work in quarter sections, so I break down my year in quarters. It helps me get more focused. It's based on a great book. I've done this for a long, long time, but there's a great book called The 12-Week Year, where it just talks about why that strategy is so beneficial. Really, because I used to get really so overwhelmed by going, okay, this year I'm going to do X. And I would think I've got over 300 days to get this done. And I would just go absolutely crazy. And I would get so overwhelmed. And 9 out of 10 times I would just become another statistic. And I wouldn't get the goals achieved. So what I found is by breaking that down and by looking at things in quarters, whether that is sales, whether that is marketing and everything else, I would improve that by breaking those things down in quarters. Now, what I also do is then once I've got the plan, I then set the intention. I know what I need to do. I know what my core outcomes is. I've set my core outcomes. I've set my breakdown goals, and I've set my stepstone goals, everything that I need to move in order to do that. I've got my rules that I my values that I need to make sure that everything is set and the intention is set to help me steer towards my core outcomes. And then the final one is the action. Obviously, nothing is going to be achieved if I'm not taking action on this stuff. I mean, we can put all the intention out there. You can do whatever you want to do, but if you are not doing anything in order to make that stuff happen, ain't happening, people. Nothing is going to make a difference to you. It's just nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. You're still going to be in the same circumstance as it was last time. And what I generally do is my core area is when I look at my plan. So this year I'm focusing on what I call HIT, and that's health, income, and tribe. So what that means is my big focus is my core outcomes this year are focused on those three areas. And that for me is where my intentions are set. That's where my goals are set. That's where my reflection points are, because there's a lot of things where my energy will go into the business and everything and my personal life and my family, but it hasn't necessarily gone into my health. So that's a big thing that I need to work on this year. And also because I'm talking about it on the podcast show, there's a bigger intention going out there as well, because I'm now just telling people in 49 different countries that that's what I need to work on today. So my wife will be over the moon. So it's all of those things. It's making sure that if I do that 4-step model, and what I'll do is I'll explain later on when I talk about my planner and my journaling, why I love to use my journal, because it has those 4 key areas in that allows me to maintain that momentum. So they've been the real key areas to do it, but you've got to make sure that you've got that plan and not become another statistic. You've got to get out there to do something about it, to make those things change. Okay, so one of the things I said I would do is about being transparent, about being honest with some of the challenges that I have had over the last 12 months, really. The biggest ones in the set of skills development is one of the things that I know I'm the weakest at is sales. And mainly that is probably stems realistically from when I was about 16 years old and some of the challenges I had about going out on the vans selling sweets from my grandfather's company. And that's the rejection of being told, no, I don't want it. And I've got to learn not to take that so personally. I don't have any connotations of it being slimy or sleazy or car salesman-y or anything like that. I just have an issue about I don't want people to be put in an emotionally challenging situation. And that's how I register it, not necessarily how they see it. So I've put in place some training and that sort of stuff to rectify that. So that was one of the biggest ones. Another one is it's I guess part of it is content marketing or the creation side of it. I've dropped the ball on that this year, partly because I've been so consumed with the podcast show. I didn't realize how much time, energy was involved in running a show. And I love doing this, but what I've also got to do is I've got to manage it better. And we've put systems and stuff in place to be able to do that more effectively. But because when you're doing a podcast show, it's not, and you guys will have this as well, as you guys will have, whether it's a project on creating a YouTube channel, or whether it's creating some sort of social media strategy or Facebook Lives or Twitter strategy or Instagram strategy, whatever it is if you're focusing an awful lot of attention on that, what you've got to make sure is that you structure that in and schedule that time effectively so you don't drop the ball on something. And hands up, I didn't do that as effectively as I should. So that is something that I've rectified, and time has been scheduled out and all of that sort of stuff. So all of that, and I need to especially do that because there's a new show that I'm launching in end of January, that I need to make sure that everything's been streamlined. But probably the biggest error that I've had, and it solely boils down to fear, is I have dropped the ball on my book. I haven't done anywhere near the effort, energy, or, well, quite honestly, I've just procrastinated on the damn thing because of fear and everything else that's attached to it, and it's stuff that I've been bringing up from my childhood. So I've been working on that consistently and persistently for many months, and I finally think I've broken the back of it now, and I've got the strategies that is really going to help me get in with that, time scheduled and all of that sort of stuff. But you probably will have something like that as well. Is there something that you would love to get done? Maybe it's a book, maybe it's an online program, maybe it's maybe it's an online course, or maybe it's to get out there and do a project that you want to do, a new adventure for your business. But there's just fear holding you back, and you've got to keep on battling all of those demons, all of those people that say, no, it's not possible, or whatever it is. But if there's something deep inside you that says you can do this, or you have to do this, it's about finding the right strategies and avenues that are going to help you do that. And I'm a persistent, stubborn so-and-so, and I don't give up easily with this sort of stuff. So it's been just trying to do that. But again, hands held in the air, I must have dumped about, probably by now, I reckon about 160, 200,000 words for the book. I've just deleted them and sent them to the black hole ether of the computer sphere, which I humbly regret on a day-to-day basis. But it's just something that I've done out of sheer frustration. Again, strategies have been put in place so I don't do that again. But I think you've got to acknowledge these things, and one of the reasons why I admit this isn't feel sorry, because what's the point? Is the thing is I'm human just like you guys. So when you're working in performance and mindset, it's not about you being a robot and just being able to get everything done. There are demons, there are challenges, there are fears, there are all sorts of things that crop up, but it's about how do you manipulate them positively for your benefit and still get the stuff done. Now, some things I'm better at than others, but like everything, we all have strengths and weaknesses. What you've got to have is you've got to have the courage to keep on going forward and keep on moving forward. So those are the things that I have probably failed most in the year, and they're the things that I'll be working on, and certainly in 2018 to improve. Okay, so one of the things that I'm really obviously keen on is the journaling side, and people are always asking me, what's the journal I should use? How do you journal? And journaling's a personal thing. You have to find the right ways. Do you use a Moleskine and free journal, or do you use something that has a little bit more structure to it, like the 5-minute journal or the daily greatness journal? The journal I choose and that I prefer is called the Best Self Journal. And what I do with that is I have a subscription with that. So every 13 weeks I get a new version, which allows me to focus on my quarters with this journal. And I love this journal for majority of it. It's business and life orientated around the planning side. Why do I love this book so much? Well, really simple. The way it's set out, one, it's the 13-week thing, which is, I talked about that earlier on. The other thing is the ways each day is set out. Now, I talked about how each day is set out, and I talked about my reflect, plan, set, action. So for me, on each page of this planner, I've got my planner, my time slots, which, that's a planner, as you would expect. But then we've got my morning and evening gratitude, which I think is so key. I don't think enough people do the gratitude. It can be really hard at first, but I think it's such an important key to put you into the right mindset. Then what it does is it focuses on the goal and today's targets. So straight away, there's the plan. What's your goal? What is your intention for today? Or maybe it's your bigger goal. and what are your targets that are going to help you get to that place. Then there's another section which talks about lessons learned and wins. Now I love that because lessons learned is about reflection. So what did you do wrong? What happened? What could you do better? It's that development side. What is it that we need to do in order to improve things? And then probably one of the important bits for me is the wins. Not enough people celebrate the wins. Not enough people stop for a second and go, what did I actually do well today? Because when you're having a shitty day, there is nothing better than going back and looking at your gratitude and looking at your wins. Most people don't like celebrating the wins because we've been told that it's not right. It's an egotistical, it's an arrogant thing. It's absolute BS. It's dependent on how you do it. It's not what this is about. It's about getting you into the right place that allows you to get into the right, hone your mind into going, okay, I am a raging bull ready for my goals. That's what I am going for. That is my target. And I've got to make sure that I am as positive and focused and driven, but in a good way as possible. So everything that I'm doing is moving me in the right direction. And when you're having a bad place or when you're having a bad day, I can go to this book and I can see everything I'm grateful for, and I can see my wins, and I can go back over the quarter, over the half year, over however long you've been doing it, and you can constantly go back. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. There's another section here where you can track your habits. So you're looking at improving your habits. Maybe it's about something where you're improving your hydration or exercise or meditation or journaling or whatever it is. This book allows you to do that. So for me, Best Self is one of the best planners out there that allows you to do that. It's not for everyone, but it certainly is one of the ones that I recommend. So that's one of the core ones I use for my business and my life. The brainstorming creative side, as I use really just a Moleskine or a notebook. I either use a Moleskine or I use a notebook from a company called Dingbats because it's a good quality, sturdy book. And I like writing with a good quality rollerball or a fountain pen. The ink doesn't sink through, so it's a great thing. And that really is just about me getting stuff out my head and writing it down. So there's no structure to it. It's free. It's a free writing sort of thing. That's what I love doing with that. I have to admit that recently I invested in an iPad Pro and a pencil, and I use Notify, and I am finding that really useful to be able to do that on a digital point of view. So I can just immediately upload that to Evernote and those sort of things, making my storage of those notes a lot easier, but I'm still experimenting with that, so I'm not 100% sure. And then I have my just general recording and free writing, and I use an app called One Day, and that is something I just record my thought and where I am in the world, and I do that using One Day. It's a great app. There is a subscription. I think it's about £3 or something a month. You can use it on your Mac or your smartphone. And it allows me to put, a photo to record a special day, multiple entries. And I just really, I am completely honest in that diary. It allows me just to sort of get stuff out, but I make it a golden rule is I always end in a positive. So that is that's generally my journaling practice. I don't do that every single day. And sometimes I wish I did. I'm looking at improving on that, but it's just something I just need to improve on. I've set a reminder on now that just comes up at 9 o'clock at night and goes, okay, let's do 5-minute journaling. But you've just got to find your own way. Some people go, whoa, Geoff, that's way too much. And for some people it is, but for me it's not. And it's a strategy that I've done ever since I started to get well from my illness. It's a huge benefit to me. That's why I do it. If free journal or doing that sort of thing isn't beneficial to you, recording your thoughts, failures, and all of those sort of things has to be beneficial in some way, I do believe. But you just got to find your sweet spot and do it the way that you do. So I do think that you've just got to find the right way. Again, I'll put the links to all the software and the apps into that, and I'm going to do a couple of reviews on the platforms as well. So apps that I really love using, and I'll probably be using for 2018 on a regular basis, are my task management software, which is Trello. This allows me to really get focused. I have a separate board for my content for my podcast. So I have my content calendar, interviewees, what stage it is, all of those sort of things get set up there. The new content marketing calendar is also in there. So what content is going to be created, when it's going to be released, for when, my general tasks, all of that. If I'm talking to different team members or different people, they can share the board and communicate with me as well. So that's been really, really useful. So that's my task management system. Evernote is my digital brain. Michael Hyatt describes it as that as well. That is literally all of my notes. Everything that I really need is in one place. It's on Evernote. It's great. If you've never heard of it, where have you been? It's definitely worth a look at, because it's talking to more and more platforms as well, with the integration of Zapier and those sort of things. But it just allows me to sync with my phone, my iPad, my laptop. I can quickly bring things up using the search criteria, which is absolutely brilliant. And it just allows me to store things and find things very, very quickly. So that's definitely an app that I've been using for years and years and years, and definitely can't see me not using. My email app is Airmailer. I love that because it just makes life so much easier with its swipe and action menu. Again, it integrates with Trello and it integrates with Evernote, so I can just swipe one to the left and one to the right, and it will send it to Evernote or to Trello as a task. Makes life a lot easier. So that's definitely one that I love. You do have to pay for that one. Hazel's another great app. I guess it's a productivity app, and it just allows me to do things a lot slicker and a lot quicker by simply creating processes that saves me time, really. That by simply sending a certain file into a certain folder and having it pre-set up, Hazel will look after it, file it in a certain place, prefix it with a certain set of digits or numbers or references that I wanted to do, maintain and clean any duplicate files and my recycling box. It just makes life so much easier. So I don't have to manually copy twice or anything like that. It just makes life so much easier. Highly recommend that if you want to be a little bit more slicker on your processes. And they're really the full real ones that I use on a day. I mean, to be absolutely honest, if I told you the apps that I use would probably be sort of a 3-day long episode, but they're the sort of the key ones that I use on a day-to-day basis. So we've talked about my favorite apps, or at least the ones I certainly use on a day-to-day basis. I've also given you that recommended a resource as well. But there's a couple of apps that I'm exploring with because I really like the idea of it. And back in episode 62 with Vicky Gregg, she talked about Filmic Pro. Now, one of the things I love to do is I love to be able to just, or I want to be able to just rock up and do a decent video. But I have always had this thing in my head that says, well, you need to have a DSLR, or you need to have a really good camera to be able to do that. And the more and more people I speak to who do video and are using their iPhones to create some amazing looking video, just say, look, all you need to do is you just need to use your iPhone, but there's a couple of things that you need to be able to do. Part of that is stability, and then obviously the other thing is using the correct apps in order to get the best from the camera that's on your phone. Now, I use a 6 Plus, a 6S Plus, and obviously the later phones will have better cameras, will have better all sorts of stuff. But I was speaking to Vic on the show and after the show, and there's a couple of friends of mine who do it as well, and they were saying, you know, just try these sort of apps. So Filmic Pro seems to be this one that keeps coming up. So Filmic Pro is one of these film apps, but you can really manipulate the the functionality of your camera on your phone. Now, to my knowledge, you can get it for but all your smartphone, your Android and your iPhone. If I'm mistaken about that, I do apologize, but I'll be using it on my iPhone. The other app that I'll be using is called Bonjoro, which is basically kind of like a video messaging app. So you just basically record a video and you can email it to a friend or a client. What I generally do is a new prospect sends me a message. I will do a video and send them a message on Bonjoro just to say, hey, thanks very much for connecting with me. It's lovely to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And it makes it more personable. And I like that interaction level. I try to do it more often on Twitter as well, doing videos, and I get a lot more reciprocation back than just doing a tweet back or a message back. So Bonjoro as well. And I'll put these apps on the message as well. But so Filmic Pro and Bonjoro are the applications that I'm experimenting with for the next quarter anyway, just to see what possibilities can come from that. So one of the things I love to do is also share resources that are not only going to save you some money, but also dramatically increase your productivity and help you in some way. And one of the best apps that I have found this year is a subscription model from AppSumo. Now, what I have to admit is when I first heard about AppSumo, I kept dismissing it because I really did not think it was a legit site. I constantly kept seeing these amazing apps or these apps that were being sold for silly prices, and I just didn't believe that it was a legit site. So I apologize, AppSumo, because I absolutely love Briefcase. So what basically Briefcase is it's a subscription model. And what you do is you pay every month. I think it's $35 now, maybe $40 a month now. And you get access to a range of software. They frequently release new platforms ranging from SEO applications to CRMs to onboarding to all sorts of different stuff. I mean, it's crazy amount of stuff. In fact, I mentioned Invanto earlier on in the show, and they also have Invanto as a platform. I do warn you, though, that any of the apps that you get as part of that subscription, should you cancel your subscription, you also cancel all of your memberships with those platforms. So you only get it while you are subscribing to it. But I have to say, I have saved myself hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds by subscribing to this platform, and it has helped me in so many different ways because they have so many different apps that are maybe in the early stages of releasing, and they kind of like do similar things that some of the better known softwares are doing, but you're getting to them at a crazy price. Well, in fact, you're not paying for them in one way because you're paying through the subscriptions. And it has been an amazing investment for me, a great resource that I have found, and I recommend to a lot of my clients and a lot of my associates and friends that when they're looking at just to have a look, it's worth sort of just having a look, having a bit of research, and seeing the kind of things that you're using at the minute, and then going, well, okay, what is it that I can migrate over to this platform? And it's the CRM, the CRM that they get, they use or at least they launched one called Salesflare, and I absolutely love it. I was originally using, I think, Insightly, and I use Salesflare, and it's absolutely brilliant. So I think it's a great resource. It's brilliant the way that you're constantly giving you new platforms. What you've got to be careful of is as I often sometimes do, is I get trapped down the rabbit hole because I love finding apps that are going to benefit my clients. I'm constantly finding myself being taken down and spending ages on new platforms and experimenting with them and stuff. So I've got to be very careful how I do that. And I've actually scheduled time in to do that in order to make sure I don't go down the rabbit hole too much. But it's a really interesting platform to go on, and some of the SEO management and promotional platforms that they have that allows you to, social media platforms, but they just do all sorts, and it's a fantastic resource if you have the budget and if you have the inclination and the interest for you to do that. So hopefully that's a good resource for you for 2018. So it just leaves me to wish you the greatest success. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Take care. So first of all, just let me say a massive thank you for joining me today. It's lovely to know that you're out there listening, and it's great to have the emails that I get from you with suggestions about the show and what you think about the show. That's really nice. Really does help me make the show even better. If you'd like to find out more about me and the types of services I offer or my social media links, then please visit www.geoffnicholson.uk. You can also join us on the Facebook page. Just search for Success IQ Podcast, and that's a new page that we've put up that I'm trying to grow and develop. So you can tune in and find us on other stations such as Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and of course iTunes. And if you have the time, it would be great if you could pop over there, leave a rating, leave a review, because it really does help me grow the show and make the impact that I'm really looking for. So just to say, I hope you have a fantastic week. I wish you the greatest success, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Take care.